Allora ragazzi, uno dei titoli che sta per arrivare è Ninja Gaiden 4. Io ammetto di essere molto all'oscuro della saga perché non ho giocato praticamente nulla di Ninja Gaiden, ma è una saga di lungo corso, ok? Sta per arrivare Ninja Gaiden 4 che dovrebbe essere un po' un'evoluzione rispetto alla tradizione e abbiamo già visto parecchie cosette che mi sono sembrate interessanti, ma c'è un video di deep dive, diciamo, proprio sul canale ufficiale Xbox che mi è sembrato potenzialmente molto molto interessante, perciò quello che facciamo adesso sarà andarlo a vedere insieme, d'accordo ragazzi? Eccoci qua, fermiamo l'audio di sottofondo, eccoci qua, Ninja Gaiden 4, Legacy Evolved for a New Era, è Official Xbox Podcast, quindi diciamo che è un approfondimento abbastanza placido e tosto, è una ventina di minuti, ok? Vediamolo insieme.
Games in this podcast range from E to M.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast, the only podcast coming to you from inside Xbox. And we are at Xbox Japan once again. And I got to tell you, I have been looking forward to this one. Now, you could say it's been the year of Ninja Gaiden. We kicked off the year with the surprise drop of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. And then this summer we saw a take on classic Tecmo titles in the series with Ninja
Questo
Gaiden
è molto
Ragebound.
carino. Ragebound provatelo. È assolutamente
we've got the
figo.
headliner Ninja Gaiden 4. During Tokyo Game Show, players in Japan are getting their very first chance to get on the sticks with this future classic, and we're getting the chance to speak with the leads on the project from Team Ninja, director Masakazu Hirayama, and also from Platinum Games, director and producer Yuji Nakao. Thank you so much for joining us. I would think that people might recognize you, Hirayama-san, as the director of Wolong Fallen Dynasty, and Nakao-san, you were most recently credited as producer on Bayonetta 3. So we have some notable action game experience here today. So please tell us a little bit about your roles on Ninja Gaiden 4.
そうですね。プラチナゲームズでは基本的に
Yeah, so Ninja Gaiden 4,
開発
the
全般を
overall
担当してい
development
る
is being handled by Platinum Games. And,
Ok, c'è
me
la
as
traduzione in
director
inglese.
and,
Ok.
Producer, I kind of oversee the development of the title comprehensively.
I sottotitoli sono tradotti automaticamente, ma i sottotitoli sono ufficiali.
Sharing the builds of the game and discuss how we brush up the game going forward.
So, as a longtime fan of both the Ninja Gaiden series, going all the way back to the original arcade game back when I was little, and also the works of Platinum Games, I'd love to hear how the two teams came together and a little bit more about the day-to-day collaboration.
Yeah, so the impetus for the development of Ninja Gaiden 4 actually started with a conversation that was held between the president of Koei Tecmo, Koinuma, and the president of Platinum Games, Inaba, who are friends, and they were talking about wouldn't it be great to make something together, and that's when the idea of working together to create a new Ninja Gaiden came about. And when that conversation happened, Phil Spencer from Xbox caught wind of that conversation and threw his backing behind the project, and that's what helped it get off the ground.
So tell me, what does it mean to bring Ninja Gaiden back to Tokyo Game Show and to show the game off to the Japanese community for the first time in probably a long time since we've had a Ninja Gaiden game at Tokyo Game Show?
Yeah, so like you said, it's been a long time since the last Ninja Gaiden game came out, and we had wanted to make one for a long time, so being able to collaborate with Microsoft as well as Platinum Games to make this happen, we're really happy. And then also just
E questa è una collaborazione
we're
a
Japanese
tre
developers, so
praticamente,
being able
che
to share this
c'è di
game
mezzo
with
pure
the general public
Microsoft.
at Tokyo Game Show is really exciting.
We know this series is all about action, but I'd love to hear about how you're thinking about storytelling and cinematic moments.
I giapponesi sono
Yeah, so
molto
with
fieri
Ninja
della loro
Gaiden 4,
lingua,
we're
fosse stato in
introducing a
italiano
new
avrebbe sicuramente
protagonist
parlato
in the
inglese.
form of, Yakumo. And
No,
with
no,
Yakumo,
secondo me
we
è
wanted
diverso.
to
È che
create
proprio
a
non lo sanno
character
parlare.
that contrasts with Ryu Hayabusa, not just in terms of his appearance, but his action gameplay and just his overall setting. And Ryu Hayabusa is the apex.
Sì, infatti
of,
sarà sul Game Pass al
what
day
it
one,
means
è
to be a
vero.
ninja in
Sì.
his past games. He's really, conquered all of the foes that have come up against him. Whereas Yakumo is really
Brutalissimo.
this ninja that's starting to climb the ranks. He's developing as a character through Ninja Gaiden 4, and this is reflected in that intro where the cityscape of Tokyo comes into view and showing the player that this is the Tokyo that he will have to conquer, and he'll have to
Nella
climb to
collector di Ninja Gaiden 4 anche 100 calendari compresi per le bestemmie. Potrebbe essere tostarello,
that contrast with Ryu Hayabusa within those kind of cinematic elements.
I would love to hear a little bit more about what it was like to, obviously Ryu Hayabusa is a legendary character in all the video games, what it was like to design someone to stand toe-to-toe with Ryu,
Taradadan.
What
Che
do we need to
figo
know about
comunque.
Yakumo that maybe we haven't picked up on already from different interviews or different trailers? I always think it's very interesting.
Un po' di
when
chiusura
references
questa cosa
swords,
non
the way, like,
sforzasse. Sì,
blood
ha voglia.
is coming out everywhere. So what do we need to know about Yakumo?
So building up on my previous comments with regards to creating a contrast with Ryu Hayabusa, with Yakumo, we wanted to create a character that really inherits that quintessential Ninja Gaiden feel, but also has his own systems and his own mechanics to evolve the Ninja Gaiden formula. And in terms of his background, Ryu Hayabusa is part of the Hayabusa clan, whereas Yakumo is part of the Raven clan. So the Raven clan is a separate clan from the Hayabusa clan that operates in the shadows of the Hayabusa clan. And Yakumo contrasts with Ryu Hayabusa in that although he is a masterful ninja, he has mastery over his techniques, he is on his ascent towards master ninja status, and he uses different abilities to accomplish his missions. His different abilities are best represented in the Blood Raven form, which is shown in the things that you mentioned where
Ci sono alcune di queste cose all'interno del gioco che mi lasciano un pochino perplesso, ma subito dopo arriva una cosa fighissima che non vedo l'ora di giocare.
Take advantage of this collaboration with Team Ninja and inject our own, approach as Platinum Games, and so it comes through in the form of a Blood Raven form, which contrasts from Ryu Hayabusa's abilities.
La lingua più parlata
and
su
has
internet è il
this really
giapponese? No, non penso
approach
proprio.
To accomplishing his
Forse il
missions
cinese.
and his
A
objectives.
parte che neanche lì perché
I'd love to spend some time talking about difficulty
tecnicamente
settings.
non sono su internet.
Like I had said before, I've been playing Ninja Gaiden for literally decades at this point. My very first Xbox game ever, unwrapped the box, it was the original Ninja Gaiden back in the day. And back then, Ninja Gaiden was hard by default, and then you could make it even harder if you wanted to. But when I first started playing this Ninja Gaiden 4 for the first time, I actually started with hero mode until I got my bearings, got a feel for
Proprio
the
in
game's
Xbox
speed.
Game Studios.
It is
No, aspetta,
very
quei
fast.
Tecmo e Platinum non
And
sono
then I
Xbox Game
started
Studios,
sort of
no?
taking the
Mi
training
sbaglio
wheels,
io?
if you will, off as I played more and more. So I'm curious, like, how did you balance out the game's difficulty for those that expect it to be hard, but also allowing those that are new to the series, or maybe will see it while they're browsing Game Pass and go, yeah, I want to give that a try.
So with Ninja Gaiden 4, first and foremost, we can assure veteran players that they will be able to experience that signature intensity and challenge that they expect from a Ninja Gaiden game. And that's especially apparent in the Master Ninja difficulty setting, which is the highest difficulty in the game. With that said, it has been quite a long time since the last Ninja Gaiden game, and we wanted to create an experience that even new players, as well as fans of action games in general, can jump into and enjoy. And to that end, we've provided a wide array of difficulty options. One of those options is in the form of hero mode, which you mentioned.
Mamma mia,
And
alcune
hero
cose
mode
sono
isn't just
fighissime.
about giving enemies less health and making it so you deal more damage. There's also assists that are automatically enabled when you select hero mode. These include auto guard and auto dodge, and these assists can actually be toggled on and off at any time in the game. So when you feel like you've acclimated yourself to the general flow of combat, you can turn off some of these training wheels, like you said, and curate your experience to allow you to continue to progress. And in addition to that, in your first playthrough in Ninja Gaiden 4, you can actually change the difficulty midway through the story. So in your first playthrough, there's 3 difficulty options that are available. There's hero mode, there's normal mode, and there's hard mode. So in chapter 1, when you start out the game, you can select hero mode. And then when you feel like you've gotten better, you take off the assists. And then when you hit chapter 2, you feel like you want a little more intensity, a little more bite in your combat, so you can change it to normal mode. And then if you feel like things are getting a little too easy, then you can step it up and change to hard. And if you feel like that was a little too much, you can adjust back to normal. So we really made sure that we provided options to allow players to level up in their own way and really curate their combat and their difficulty experience based on their own progression as a player.
Pare che il gioco dovrebbe essere piuttosto impegnativo, però hanno messo tante cose per l'accessibilità dal lato difficoltà, diciamo.
To be able to make the game fit exactly the way that I want it to. I could see that you also had a lot of really granular options to fine-tune the experience, everything from enemy position, notification, how lock-on works. There were 4 options for how lock-on works. You could change the color of enemies and characters. There's a ton of stuff. Is there anything that you're particularly proud of or want to call out?
Yeah, first and foremost, I can say that we really put a lot of effort in terms of providing as many options as possible for players to really customize their gameplay experience to suit their preferences. So it's been many years since the last Ninja Gaiden came out, and there's been many evolutions and developments in terms of the standards of games and what kind of options they present to players. And we, met this need by providing accessibility options, but also, other options such as being able to turn on and off the hit stop, as well as those athletic kind of platforming elements that are in the game, so wall running and such. There are options available to allow you to perform those automatically if there are certain players that are having a hard time getting through those parts of the game. There's also a plethora of options in terms of how you can customize the UI experience. You can turn off some of those, warning indicators like you mentioned, as well as a lot of options in terms of how you can customize the camera. So you can, customize the camera to pull out in certain ways or bring in the camera depending on how, cinematic you want your experience. So we really, provided as many options as possible for players to create the experience that matches their preferences, but also made sure that those options include options for veteran players so they can experience Ninja Gaiden 4 in a similar fashion that they experienced the prior titles as well.
There's also an option for
Opla.
emphasized dismemberment, which I thought was a very descriptive term, and I definitely left that one on. So early on, I got to a place where I could spend Ninja Coin to acquire new moves, like the iconic Izuna drop, and it immediately put me into a training mode, and it let me, figure out my timing and really get proficient with the move before I drop back into the game. I would love to hear about what went into creating that.
Yeah, so with regards to, skill progression, acquiring techniques
È
and
proprio
having a
figo.
training mode available for you to practice those techniques.
Oh,
Like
Motena,
we mentioned
grazie mille
earlier,
della
in
sabbia in
terms of
regalo a
bringing Ninja Gaiden
proposito.
to a
Grazie di
wider
cuore. Non mi
audience.
ricordo se ti ho
With veteran
ringraziato.
players, whether it's myself or
La presa aerea è
playing a
Izuna
Ninja Gaiden
Toshi, una
game,
specie
the
di
first thing we do when we pick up the
spaccacervello.
controller is try to do
Sono un sacco di roba
the
interessante.
command for Izuna drop, but
Proprio
that's
fighe a
second nature
vedersi.
for us, but not necessarily for new time players. So we wanted to create a system and an avenue for new players to really
Sbram.
familiarize themselves with those types of legacy techniques and allow them to level up as a player while enjoying those distinct aspects of Ninja Gaiden. So throughout the game, you acquire Ninja Coin, which you acquire just through general, progression and defeating enemies, and then you can unlock legacy techniques, whether that's the Izuna drop or the Flying Swallow, by using that Ninja Coin. And Yakumo has all of those, legacy techniques that you would expect from a Ninja Gaiden game. But because, those are kind of like the bread and butter Ninja Gaiden techniques,
sì, guardatelo,
we made
una
sure that players
figaggine
would
a
be able to
palate.
acquire those from an early point in the game. And that,
Alla fine il gioco
we made sure that
questo
the
è.
currency,
Cioè,
the price of acquiring those was low, so you can acquire them.
ci
from
saranno
a very
altre
early
cose, ma
point,
secondo me
in the
l'80%
game.
del gioco è
So
quello
with
che
that
state
training
vedendo
mode
in
and this
questo
kind of
momento.
progression system that we've incorporated, it allows
Molto
players
zen.
to
Ma
really
in realtà è veramente
familiarize
frenetico.
themselves with each of these individual techniques.
Deve anche essere molto
Unlock
difficile
them
se lo
and
giochi a una
develop,
difficoltà un po' più
their
altina.
arsenal so they can really, dish them out in the heat of battle freely.
So we've talked a lot about the things that are going to help somebody like me get back up to speed and sort of smooth out that progression. But let's talk about the other end of the spectrum when it comes to difficulty. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the speedrunning community. Are there any benchmarks like the QA testers are hitting?
No, non è Souls-like, è velocissimo.
When the game's finally available?
Yeah, so one example is the ranking system, which returns from prior Ninja Gaiden titles. With the ranking system in Ninja Gaiden 4, we set out to evolve the ranking system even further with more transparency in terms of how these parameters work in the game and what will allow you to reach higher ranks. And with Ninja Gaiden 4, we really wanted to make sure that there's something for players to really dig into after they, beat the game. So those, hardcore users who want to continue to explore what they can do.
E sto usando talmente in fretta immagini ninja che non me ne accorgo. È possibile.
Perform in the levels. They can really dig into that ranking system to experience that. In addition to the ranking system, there's also the training mode. We touched upon it before in terms of how it provides an avenue for new players to familiarize themselves with techniques. But the training mode is also something that we designed in a way to appeal to hardcore players as well. So there are options for players to kind of explore what kind of combos are possible, what the cancel, animation cancel routes are.
Ma che figa questa!
What's just possible in the combat system. So they can really dig in and lab their arsenal out, and there's also options to
no, non è poi così complicato, Yoda, solo che effettivamente dipende dal tipo di giocatore.
Available for hardcore players to dig into in the training mode as well.
Io con la difficoltà frenetica non trovo così tanta difficoltà. Vado molto meno d'accordo con i Souls. Questa mega trivellone è bellissima.
Have you had a chance to see them yet? And I'm curious, what it has felt like to see these legendary weapons being turned into reality.
Yeah, so with the real life swords, I didn't get a chance to see them being made, but I did have a chance to see the finished swords. And being able to see Yakumo's sword, of course, we were really, really happy because as Platinum Games, and that being the new character.
Anche quelle spade di Zoro.
With Ninja Gaiden 4, that was great to see that. But as a Ninja Gaiden fan myself, and as someone who's been playing these
No, questa mi sa che è fatta proprio apposta.
I don't know how long, being able to see the Dragon Sword, a real life Dragon Sword, was an incredible experience. And it was kind of just a milestone feeling for me when I first saw it. So I was deeply moved when I saw the real life Dragon Sword.
Very cool. Do either of you have like a dream weapon you would love to see Yakumo or Ryu wield? I'm not asking you to commit to putting anything in the game or anything, but just, if your imagination runs wild.
Yeah, that's a good question. With Yakumo, his weapons that he has are really distinct to his character and what he's able to do with his Bloodraven form. And he has these really expressive attacks. But with that said, each of his weapons do retain this kind of Japanese sensibility, and you can see that in the Assassin's Tools kit, the weapon that was most recently introduced.
No, ma guarda che figo!
In the opening night live trailer. So within the Assassin's Tools kit, it includes this arsenal of Japanese
ma guarda che roba!
It would be interesting to see
quei meccanismi
Yakumo wield something that's
extra
more
da
modern.
androide sono
That's
bellissimi.
I think could be interesting.
Speaking of modern, I've been privileged enough to be able to try out Ninja Gaiden 4 on the ROG Xbox Ally, literally this one. If you turn it on, you will see most recently played is Ninja Gaiden 4. Have you given this a go yet?
Yeah, so I did have a chance to play it on the Xbox Ally, and I think it's really great that there is this device that will allow people to really experience that core action game experience on the go, separate from that console or PC experience. And I think with this system, it really retains the action gameplay feel. So really excited.
Io più lo vedo più capisco che porca miseria c'è una gran figaggine.
In this format as well.
Tanto sponsorizza anche la nuova console, certo. Anche perché letteralmente tra pochi giorni, credo.
Is coming out alongside Ninja Gaiden 4 are, bear with me, these new standard and elite controller. I'm just going to be handing you all kinds of stuff here. These designs are something new for veterans and newcomers alike, featuring both Ryu and Yakumo's new katana as well. What do you think about these?
Sono pure i pad
So this design was something
personalizzati.
that came about in collaboration with Team Ninja and Xbox Game Studios, and you can see that one side has
Questa è molto
Ryu's Dragon
molto
Sword,
orientale
and
come
then the other
design.
has Yakumo's sword. So they're on on both sides.
Microsoft sta cercando di insistere sul mercato orientale, questo è piuttosto evidente.
The game, and I think it's a really great design. There is the Elite version as well as the standard version, and you can customize some of the buttons as well. So I really I invite players out there to get their hands on one and enjoy the game with it.
That's right. These are going into design labs so that you can change the buttons, you can change the sticks. There's a lot of different customization you can do, and sort of that Ninja Gaiden 4 top case is really cool. Those are not mine, so if they don't come home, they don't come back, that's fine. I hope you enjoy those. All right, so by the time that we watch this, if I timed it out correctly, you have just announced what is next for Ninja Gaiden 4. Can you elaborate on the DLC?
So the Two Masters DLC, which will be available in early 2026.
Sono contenuti aggiuntivi già da ora?
For Yakumo and Ryu. And you can see from the key visual that Yakumo's new weapon captures his personality and his approach to combat with his expressive abilities, whereas Ryu's weapon, as you can probably glean from the key visual, has a more precise look to it and will allow you to perform powerful and high-speed abilities. Each of these weapons will have its own distinct qualities and a plethora of mechanics for players to dig
in genere
into.
non è che apprezzo moltissimo quando già in anticipo ti dicono che ci saranno dei DLC, però di fatto alla fine può essere anche un modo per supportare il gioco anche un po' più a lungo. Quindi
and unfolds from the perspective of both of these characters. In addition to the story content, there will also be post-game challenge content that exists separate from the ninja trials that are in the base game. So there's a lot of content for players to dig into, and we can't wait to share more details with players as they become available.
Awesome. We look forward to seeing more of that, but of course we've got to get into release dates. So Nakao-san, Hirayama-san, thank you so much for joining us today. We really are just a few short weeks away. Ninja Gaiden 4 arrives on October 21st for Xbox Series X and S, Xbox on PC,
Vedi?
Xbox
Mancano
Cloud,
2 settimane
Xbox Play
praticamente.
Anywhere, and of course you can play it day one with Game Pass. We've recorded a few different episodes here during our trip to Japan, including a special on all things Tokyo Game Show. You can find that wherever you're watching this.
Quest'anno Microsoft al Tokyo Game Show c'è stata presente un bel po', Si vede proprio che stanno cercando in tutti i modi di insistere sul mercato asiatico. Allora ragazzi, io vi devo dire questo. Per essere uno che il franchise non lo conosce affatto e oltretutto ho provato Ninja Gaiden 2 Black quando è stato ripresentato e non mi ci sono trovato per niente, e per essere uno che non necessariamente ama moltissimo questa estetica orientale o questo tipo di giochi, devo sinceramente dirvi che mi sono sorpreso ad avere un certo hype per questo titolo qua. La ragione è molto semplice, potrei dirvi che sembra essere molto interessante a livello di combo, le animazioni sembrano essere belle, lo stile sembra essere intrigante, ma io onestamente ve lo devo sintetizzare con miseria. C'è della figaggine in tutto questo, cioè sembra essere veramente coinvolgente, ma proprio padda alla mano, no? E oltretutto, dato che notoriamente è un gioco abbastanza difficilotto, il fatto che si siano spesi per avere degli appropriati livelli di difficoltà e anche delle opzioni un po' più specifiche su certe cose per dare la possibilità al giocatore di tararsi un po' certe cose, e allo stesso tempo per dare però dal lato opposto della scala anche tanta roba che arriva diciamo fatta apposta per la community speedrun, per una sorta di competitivo, diciamo per alti livelli di sfida. Questo è una cosa bella perché potenzialmente rende il gioco sia accessibile sia molto adeguato per chi vuole masterare bene le cose e vuole un livello di sfida alto. Perciò ragazzi, io sono onestamente piuttosto contento. Già, non era un qualcosa che era molto nel mio orizzonte, ve lo dico sinceramente. Certo, si porta dietro un nome con un certo peso, Ninja Gaiden, certamente vanno considerate tante cose, certamente aveva un po' gli occhi su di sé, a prescindere anche soltanto per il retaggio del franchise, ma per quanto mi riguarda io non avevo tutto questo hype, ma dopo averlo visto più e più volte, e soprattutto dopo questo deep dive qua, beh, non esito a dirvi che non dico che non vedo l'ora che esca, ma quando esce sarò molto contento di provarlo. Sì, assai. E spero che valga anche per altri, perché potrebbe essere un gioco che nato per una nicchia, nato per i fan, potrebbe essere un gioco che però prende anche altri, perché chiaramente anche con un occhio ai nuovi giocatori. Anzi, molto specifico l'occhio ai nuovi giocatori, perciò gli auguro di riuscire e mi auguro che il gioco sia coinvolgente come spero. Già. Loris, grazie mille della sub con Prime. Quindi fatemi sapere anche voi che cosa ne pensate, gente. Io sono piuttosto in hype, abbastanza.